What's up, guys? We're back with another Zox Talk. So I'm your host, Zox, and we got a lot to get into with the CZN update. We not only have Chizuru that's coming into the game, but of course we have other content that I at least want to highlight as far as, shops and QOL, etc. But most importantly, I want to make sure we get into all the nitty gritty with Chizuru, which we have everything, including epiphanies, okay? So we're going to go ahead and dive right into it. So starting out with the mechanics, all right? This is going to be something really important to the overall core of the gimmick. When you're using the core starter card, Hellfire, you can apply a unique debuff called Curse Shackle. And when you're basically attacking enemies with this effect, you'll be able to gain an exclusive resource. Now, gaining this exclusive resource will gain you cards that, like, for example, will bind. And with every bind card, you'll be able to essentially stack that into a single card so that it can become stronger, which equals more damage, right? Now, the more hits a card deals, the more easily you can obtain this exclusive resource. And then by using the Sukiomi card, you can gain additional exclusive resources equal to the number of hits of your attack cards or from your attack cards, allowing you to accumulate exclusive resources more efficiently, right? Now, the thing that comes with this, right, and these are 2 points that they're making, is that you can obtain the exclusive resource in the Shadow of the Moon card by attacking a target under the Curse Shackle. Using a single card to attack multiple times will make it easier to obtain that resource. So the more hits you do, the more of that resource you can build, the more damage you can essentially get. Now, the other point is that by using the Bound at Dusk card, you can reduce card costs, easing the burden of AP usage, which means just as an individual outlook of this character, the goal is that you want to reduce the cost of your cards and get them as low as possible so that you can do as much damage as possible, right? So that's kind of the trade-off there that you're trying to aim for. So with that, okay, let's actually shift over into what her cards are looking like, all right? So these are Chizuru's basic cards. We have Moon Slash, right? So with Moon Slash, and let's actually zoom in a little bit so you guys can see this. Moon Slash, 60% times 2 damage, very, very straightforward. But again, it hits multiple times. So you already know that that's for it to work into, the cursed shackles, right? Now we have Spirit Flames Ward, which I think that this is actually, I think that may be like the translation for English, because I think Will-O-Wisp is under Sukiomi, but Spirit Flames Ward is just 100% shield. We don't really care too much about that. But Karmic Flames is an initiation card, which means that it's going to start at the top of your deck. 100% damage, 1 Curse Shackle, and then the Curse Shackle, it adds an additional hit. Now, of course, with that, I want to go in tandem with the, which I got to shout out whoever posted this on Reddit. This is actually going to be what the epiphanies are for this card. Now, with this, we have the initiation, 150% damage, applies Curse Shackle, plus when you have that Curse Shackle, it's 1 additional hit. So the damage can go up. This is, of course, the first epiphany. The second epiphany is going to be 150% damage applies. Curse Shackle, when the Curse Shackle is applied, or at least the effect, is next card is -1 cost. Then the next one is going to be 180% on initiation damage, applies Curse Shackle, and then Curse Shackle increases damage by 100%. And then the next one is initiation, applies Curse Shadow or Curse Shackle, and then generate 1 Shadow of the Moon. Not bad. And then the next one is an initiation exhaust. So applies Curse Shackle, and when a target with Curse Shackle is defeated, create this card. Now, I would say that, for what it's worth, if you're trying to go for increasing or messing around with her specific gimmick, another thing that's actually really important to this character is generation of Shadow Moon. This is something you'll see a lot in the Manifest Ego as well. But I definitely will say that, of course, the 1 and the 2 seem pretty big because you can get more hits, but then also your next card cost being reduced by 1 is really nice to keep costs as low as possible while you're still ramping damage. And then, of course, I would say this third one, even though it is an increase in cost, it is allowing you, again, to generate 1 Shadow of the Moon, which is going to be really important to the gimmick of Chizuru as well. So I feel like if I had to pick out of these three, it would probably 1, 2, and then this fourth slotted card. But other than that, I mean, to be fair, like it is a higher cost, so you have to kind of factor that in. But I'm almost willing to bet that there are going to be Nephilim or Divine Epiphanies that may also open up the opportunity to reduce the cost of this card. So just kind of keeping that in mind, right? But if we're just talking about base, I think those would be definitely the 1 and 2 are the ones I'm really looking at. But nonetheless, that of course is going to be the very first card's Epiphanies. Now, when we're going to Sukiomi here, this is going to allow you to gain 2 Will-O-Wisps for each hit of the next attack card of this unit used, right? So the thing with this is that, of course, when we're looking at like the overall value of what this can become, the Will-O-Wisp at base, like it's fine, right? But what it can become, I think, is where you really start to see, you know, something that really can like kind of open this up a little bit. So when we go to the Will-O-Wisp here, it says next own attack card, gain +1 hit, gain 3 Will-O-Wisps for each hit of the next own attack card. So that's pretty huge, right? Like that's like definitely huge to one, the gimmick, which is going to help you with building up that bind. And then of course, like I said, on top of that, the more that you're able to do that, it's going to help you with scaling your damage. Now it says on the second card here, you gain 3 Will-O-Wisps, and for each hit of the next attack card. The third slot epiphany here is the next Shadow of the Moon Plus gains 2+ hits. The fourth one is gain 3 Will-O-Wisps per attack card in hand. And then the next one, or sorry, the very last one is unique/lead. When using own attack card, gain 2 Will-O-Wisps. Now, the thing with this too is depending on what kind of deck you're playing, right? I can see the fourth one being useful if you have like a really like insane draw deck that you're playing. But most importantly, I feel like this third one is going to be pretty huge just because the Shadow Moon of the Plus gaining 2 extra hits is going to be pretty nice for the fact that a lot of what your egos and what's really being pushed or really being emphasized in the character's kit is the Shadow of the Moon cards, which we'll talk about in a second. But that's going to help you further with being able to get into building up your damage in the bind stacks, right? So I feel like out of these, definitely the first one, the third one, and then I would say, I guess the last one would be good because it's a lead. So that, again, depending on what unique you may go for, that could be usable as well. But the other ones I feel like are also pretty decent too. So not really too bad in terms of like potential choices there. But if we go over to our very next thing here, which is our next card, we have Bound at Dusk, okay? So this, of course, is the unique I'm referring to. So at the start of the turn, gain Inhibit, decrease cost of 1 until 1 random card of the other combatant is used. Now, the thing with this card is it is a little restrictive just because it's binding you to only using the Chizuru cards, because as soon as you use another character's cards, it's going to basically shift everything, right, as far as that cost reduction that you're getting. Now, when we're actually looking at what potential epiphanies you can get with this, right, we have in the first slot, we have initiation/unique. So at the start of the turn, gain Inhibit, cost of 2 random cards in hand reduced by 1 until used. The second slot, we have initiation/unique. At the start of the turn, gain Inhibit. When using Shadow of the Moon Plus, cost of the next card is reduced by 1 until used. Then the third slot here, we have at the start of the turn, gain Inhibit, activate 2 random cards of other combatants. Now, on top of that, going into the fourth, at the start of the turn, gain Inhibit, activate 2 random lead cards. Okay, that's actually pretty good. And then when we're looking at this very last one, at the start of the turn, gain Inhibit, cost of the highest card, cost card in hand is reduced by 2 until used, right? Now, I will say that like for a lot of fights, depending on if it's short or long term, I think at the start of the turn, if you have any lead cards, activating 2 random lead cards can be really good. Just because, again, those can be like any set effect that you may need to like have operating so that you can have the rest of your cards like receive buffs or, you know, kind of starting up like ramping able damage and stuff like that, right? Now, the other one that I actually really think is going to be good too is the second slot. So at the start of the turn, gain inhibit when using Shadow of the Moon plus cost or plus cost of the next card reduced by 1 until used. So that, again, I think the Shadow of the Moon is going to be a really big play. This is definitely, I would say, is going to be relying upon your Manifest Ego, which we'll highlight in a second, because there's going to be a way for you to be able to generate more of those cards. I think that that's going to be a high value copied card for a lot of people. So it just kind of all depends on like what exactly the direction of your build is going to be. But I definitely think that that's going to be a really, really good one. The lead one is going to be really good. And I would definitely say the first one is actually pretty solid as well. I think that that one's actually pretty good. Yeah, cost of 2 random cards in hand reduced. I mean, depending on what your hand looks like, that could like actually be pretty helpful. So yeah, I feel like that's actually pretty good there. Now, if we go back, we have the Oni Hunt. All right, so Oni Hunt, one of my favorite types of cards. It is actually a haste card. Now, it's 60% times 3 damage plus 30% damage amount to the next bind card used. Now, with that being the case, there's a lot of different things that come with this, right? Now, this is one thing I was like kind of talking about that can kind of drop depending on if damage goes up, right? Hit counts, damage go up, you may lose the haste effect, which is like obviously what we're going to see here in the epiphanies. So we go back to the epiphanies here. For the Oni Hunt, the card then becomes, in the first slot, 50% damage times 4. The damage of the next bond card is plus 40%. Then the second slot is 180% damage. The damage of the next bond card is plus 50%. And that's bind, by the way, because it's translated weird. But either way, it's okay. Yeah, then the middle one here is 60% damage times 3. If there are no other attack cards in hand, gain plus 2 hits. The fourth one is create 2 Shadow of the Moon, grant Inferal to them and reduce their cost by 1 until used. And then the very last one is a unique, so Shadow of the Moon plus, gain 40% damage at the start of the turn, gain 3 Will-O-Wisps. Now, with this, the fourth one is going to be kind of unique. It allows you to create 2 Shadow of the Moon. The Inferal means that like they just basically like kind of disappear. So you're like creating cards, so after usage, they just disappear. You have to recreate them again. And then it reduces their cost by 1 until they are used. So that could be pretty good. Granted, like again, you're already kind of be generating it, but for what it's worth, you can also play that into just getting that out and doing that generation much quicker. Now, the other thing is too, is that when we're looking at like the high hit counts plus the bind damage increase, the first one is actually going to be really good for the hit counts, right? Four hits, 50% damage. Plus, then the damage of the next bind card is plus 40%. But then you also have the outright, and the second one was 180% damage in 1 hit. The damage of the next bind card is 50%. Again, I think you're looking more towards the multi-hit ones. So I think that like the probability of you not having an attack card in your hand depends on who you're playing, because that I would say, like if you're playing like say with one of the recommendeds, which is like Luke and then also Chizuru, like are you gonna not have attack cards in your hand? I mean, maybe, right? But there's a high probability you're probably not gonna get the full value out of that. So I feel like the maybe third, that may be like a 4th slot pick for me, but I definitely think that the 4th slot and the 5th slot are going to be pretty solid. Also because the last one is going to allow you to generate those Will-O-Wisps, which is going to be huge for you to be able to play into a gimmick a lot quicker, right? Now on top of that, okay, we got those epiphanies out of the way. Now we got to talk about, lastly here, Shadow of the Moon. So Shadow of the Moon does have 2 different variations. You have Shadow of the Moon and Shadow of the Moon Plus. It comes with a bind 1 retain, which is 50% damage plus 20% damage amount for each bind stack. And then on the very last one here, it's a unique bind 3 retain. So it's 70% damage times 2, heal 5% of your max HP, plus 20% damage amount for each bind stack. Okay, so this is obviously, pretty huge for these cards. Again, I would say that like this opens up how you can basically build Chizuru, just because, again, when we're looking at like her being able to multi-hit, she can basically supply that on her own if you need her to. She can also add a little bit of heal. And then on top of that, she also has damage scaling within her kit. So for each bind stack, you get an extra 20% damage, right? Which is pretty huge. Now, when we're talking about like some of the next stuff, right, which I think is like pretty important to talk about here. Let's actually go back. Let's see here. So we actually have to go into our ego skill. So our ego skill is going to be Moonlight of the High Tide. So it's 250% damage. And for each shadow of the moon created, plus 50% damage. And then the amount is going to be at max 10, right? So 10 max stacks. That's a lot of damage, right? Like there's a lot of damage ramp that she's going to be able to get in her kit. Keeping in mind, this is why I said like the Shadow of the Moon creation are probably going to be some of the like more sought after cards, or any way for you to be able to manipulate that so you can get more, because again, it's going to be the basis of a lot of what innately is being increased in her kit as you start to develop her more. So with the ego skill, definitely pretty huge for being able to help with ramping your overall damage. But it's basically paying you off for creating basically creating or using Shadow of the Moon, right? Now, the manifest ego, right? This is where the conversation definitely kind of clearly shows what they want you to do with her, or at least try to attempt to do with her, depending on your dupes investment. Now, dupe investment, level 1 plus 20% damage amount to the Shadow of the Moon plus 3% to the recovery amount of max HP. Now, of course, with this is like for the first dupe is huge, because this means 20%, which means 90% damage times 2, 8% on the recovery amount of max HP, which is really nice. Level 2, when you're using Shadow of the Moon plus card, create 1 Shadow of the Moon card. Reason why that's huge is because if you have those cards duplicated in your hand, it's going to be much easier for you to be able to generate that, right? So like you're going to use 1 Shadow of the Moon plus card, you create 1 Shadow of the Moon card. If you have the other card that's allowing you to create Shadow of the Moon cards, like you're going to be able to like really ramp that and stack that really fast. Now at level 3, it's plus 150% damage amount to Moonlight of High Tide. That is going to be added onto your ego skill. That's nasty. I'm not gonna lie. It's already at like what, 250? So an extra 150% is kind of like ridiculous. On top of that, level 4, what you're getting is when a Shadow of the Moon is created, gain 1 Lunar Shard, and Lunar Shard is an additional 10% damage amount to Chizuru's attack cards, and it can stack up to 3 stacks. So when we're talking about more damage, everything with the Shadow of the Moon is equating to more damage, right? So not playing that gimmick means that you're kind of taking her away or shying away from more damage, which again, more Shadow Moons equals more damage, right? Level 5, increase the level of basic card upgrade, unique card upgrade, and common card upgrade by 3. Obviously really important. And then level 6 is pretty insane because it changes the damage amount of increased effect of Lunar Shard by 15% and add 3 stacks of Lunar Shard plus 1 hit count of Shadow of the Moon plus card, right? So that means that now, instead at 90%, 8% recovery, you're going to be hitting 3 times, which is like ridiculous. Like that is absolutely ridiculous for that to be a card that you can then say, like, for example, duplicate. So anybody that has her at level 6 is going to be eating, basically. So yeah, really strong. Really strong unit. Now, Itsuku is going to be the partner that comes with Chizuru. Obviously, I personally think this is going to be something that is, I don't want to say required, but is absolutely going to shoot her to the moon when we're talking about overall damage, because the Tranquil Marker, the assigned combatant's attack is increased by up to 16%, so it's anywhere from 8 to 16%. Every time the assigned combatant's card stack, it's plus anywhere from 5 to 10% attack card damage amount, and it stacks up to max of 3 stacks. Every time 1 attack card type is used by the assigned combatant, it deals 3 hits, anywhere from 30%, I would say, I'm assuming that's what that's supposed to be, 30% to 60% fixed damage to the target. And then the ego skill, Moonlight Leisure, 4 ego points, 200% damage to all enemies, apply Fierce Winds effect, and Fierce Winds effect effect is 50% damage amount to attack cards of the assigned combatant for 1 turn. So I think her damage output potential is going to be really disgusting. Is she going to be stronger than like Tressa Kayron? Maybe in her own way, but I don't know if it's going to be directly just more raw damage, or if she's going to be able to hit that mark. Do I think she's going to be up there like with Maylin? Don't know, right? We're gonna have to see how like the other characters can kind of manipulate her to get her to be able to use her gimmick more. But with that being said, we got to talk about the combinations here. And this is one of the last things I want to really talk about as far as, just things you really want to know as far as Chizuru. So with the setup here, they have Tressa Ray, which is going to be on Raid Up, right, on the banner. This is for increased card hit count, enables aggressive play. Tressa coming with her ability to be able to create daggers. She's going to be able to obviously proc tons of agony, so low cost cards, really, really effective. Ray can damage up or damage ramp. So some of these ridiculous numbers that we're seeing, Ray is going to be able to take them to a whole nother level. She can add another 100%, 150% damage to a card, right? And specifically to attack cards. She can also scale healing and like just overall damage is, I mean, like everything, right? She's like pretty nuts. Now, the other thing is too, is that going into the next team, it's card cycling, attack at low cost. We have Cassius and Luke here, right? We already know like the damage potential of what Luke can hit, but I'm also really interested with him being paired up with Chizuru. Cassius, we already know, is a no-brainer. He's going to allow that cycling, getting those shadow moons, getting those cards are going to be like no problem with a Cassius on the team. Luke is going to be really good too. I don't know if he's going to be like more like main versus sub DPS to her. Just kind of, again, have to kind of test to see how that's going to be. But nonetheless, he's going to have really good cycling as well because his card cost can be fairly low. So yeah, that's going to be a like pretty nasty like output in terms of like overall damage that you get from this setup. And then with the very last team with the Yuki, that's going to be definitely enabling a lot more AoE inspiration, of course, taking effect with Yuki drawing cards with the Nia, draw, discard. I think that that's going to allow you to really be able to, number one, get more of the cards that you need in hand. But I also think too, the multi-hitting, right? So with Yuki, she can also be built to multi-hit. I'm almost wondering too if this is factoring the Yuki with the change with her single target emphasis. I feel like with her single target emphasis, there's going to be more multi-hitting on her. So I think that that may also be the like version that we may be seeing as well. I know they said that we're still working on it, but it does say assist with AoE. So I'm going to assume it's just the one that we have already. But nonetheless, I am still interested to see what the single target version or variation of her is going to bring, because I think it will be able to enable Chizuru really well. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see on that. So yeah, that's basically that. Now, outside of that, just real quick, obviously we have the story update that's coming. You guys all know and seen that. Core of Discord, new content, right? New secret, like hidden boss and Chaos Laboratory Zero, which is really important. I don't know what the drop is going to be, but it's probably going to be something that works extremely well with, Chizuru, right? And or Yuki. Now, little side note, they threw them in here. Look at that team, Cassius, Chizuru, and of course, Luke. Again, I already know that team's going to be like pretty nuts. And I also want to emphasize one thing that you may have just completely missed. They're using, I think it's the Ecstasy card with the 9 cost card, and they have it equipped specifically to Chizuru. Now, why would that be the case? Because more than likely she's going to have cards drawn. This is going to be, again, a multi-hit card that's going to allow her to really be able to pop off. So that's already kind of giving us a potential build, if not a build on her for sure, that you're going to want to emphasize, right? So I just wanted to show you guys that too. Now, Codex is going to have some improvements. Save data can be used basically anywhere now. We don't have to worry if it's seasonal or not. Forbidden cards are now obtainable in the Dimensional Tunnel. I think this means it's guaranteed. So, yeah, pretty huge. Dimensional Tunnel will also be in regular Codex as well. We also have a new mode where we can form 2 teams, Vanguard and Rearguard. It's going to be the leaderboard content. We're going to really be able to see who's the cream of the crop in the game. Just have to kind of wait December 3rd to the 24th. This will be up, and we'll have cumulative rewards, record rewards, and ranking rewards. Blackhorn Shop is also going to be accessible. We can get 5 anchors in here, which is going to be great for the standard banner, so we can actually push that pity for the guarantee. And then just for those that want to try their luck to get more egos, right? Growth Stones, Unit of the Eye, or Units, Eye of the Welling, and Prodigal, Shards of Condemnation is all going to be in here. This is going to be resetting monthly, and this should be helping helping us with investment in building our units, right? And then of course, new memory fragment sets. Kind of interested in these, but just long story short, I feel like these are going to be in the same dungeon, number one. But the Orb of Inhibition, I think is going to be definitely probably more valuable to us right now. I think Judgment's Flame is going to be a lot more valuable when this next unit comes, just because, again, when we're looking at like what we're getting from this, it's 50% damage amount to instinct cards used against ravaged targets. And I don't know what the 4th unit's attribute is. I haven't seen it anywhere, but the only instinct units we have is Cassius, Orlia, and Nia, right? So I mean, Orlia, sure, but the other units, I don't know, right? Like, I don't know if you're really trying to get more damage out of them versus anything else. Maybe Orlia, but I'm gonna presume maybe this next unit that's coming, right? Now, outside of that, what we are having, Unigram now open, is just a chat system, right? And then, of course, our other improvements, which are really important. We're able to see Faint Memory and the maximum capacities now. We can now see dimensional tunnels, rare species, and DeLong shop everywhere on the map, so we no longer have to guess. We got voice lines, improved text clarity for equipment items. We have different choices for the gift items for certain policies, improved animations for the immediate breakdown, improved divine representation from 2 normal battles to 3 normal battles when monsters HP becomes 1. And then also we have a current turn indicator in the in-game battle log, and then also indicators for the 1 out of 2 like waves or team turns during basin and hyperspace during turn limit stages, right? So all of that, guys, less than 25 minutes or about 25 minutes, all broken down. Again, I feel like this update is going to be pretty massive. I think this is great changes, a great unit coming into the game. It is a new gimmick. That's what I'm excited about. I'm not looking for, personally, more Mei Lins or more Lukes. Not that isn't going to happen. I just think that what we need to see is a bigger diversity in the types of decks that you can build. And I think as we figure out things, as they implement things over time, this is naturally going to happen, where you'll have Rens, or you'll have Hugos, or you'll have Veronicas, you'll have other crazy units or other units doing crazy things. And I also think too, like, one of the things that they have been talking about is just buffing characters, right? Changing, revamping, enhancing, characters so that they can perform better. So I think that we're probably going to get a big like balance patch at some point, that we may see a few of our favorite characters in the game actually being buffed to be a little bit more impactful to their gameplay style and the looping. And then of course, being able to ramp up and get more damage out of certain characters, if that's something you're looking for, or more hit counts, wherever it may be. But nonetheless, let me know how you guys feel. Again, I'm pretty hyped for what's to come. But that's going to be that with this one, guys. Everyone, stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode of Zox Talks. All right, guys, stay blessed.